Hello, everyone. My name is Devin Rue. I'm a professional fantasy cartographer and illustrator in the tabletop RPG industry, as well as your host for the Quip and Quill podcast.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Mercer. I am a voice actor, a co-founder, and dungeon master for Critical Role, where me and a bunch of other nerdy-ass voice actors and friends roll dice, play role-playing games, and been doing make-em-ups online for going close to 9 years now. Holy shit.
Right? Oh, we just had this conversation the other day about how long y'all have been on. And 9 years. Doesn't it seem like an entire lifetime ago?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's odd because it does, but sometimes I'll look at pictures, memories hit me, and it had that strange, that kind of recent nostalgia, if that makes sense, where it feels like something that happened a few months back, and I'm like, oh, no, that was an age ago. So
right.
It's all time soup at this point. I'm just swimming in it.
Yep. Same here. I did the same thing. We were, because like I was just saying, we're moving. So I was like packing stuff and I have so much memorabilia already because it's 5 years ago that we've been working together. And I'm just like, holy shit. Like, it doesn't feel like anywhere near that, but also it does. It feels like forever ago.
I know. But and many, yeah. It's hard to process. I'm ever taken aback by kind of where we started and where we are and where we're going, and grateful, tired, and just kind of still pinching myself because none of this makes sense.
Right? Yeah. I mean, also the other thing is, like, even though for the fans and everybody, the other campaigns ended, but not for you all, because you're still doing merch, you're still doing stories, you're still doing everything else with the other campaign characters. It must feel like it never actually ended.
Not really, which is simultaneously exciting and stressful.
Right.
Mostly exciting.
Yeah.
Getting to return to Vox Machina in our animated series has been wonderful because we get to step back into these characters and relive these moments that have been adapted for the animation that, were involved in every process of production. So getting to kind of relive all that and retell them has been really exciting, while now also in production for our Mighty 9 animated series. So now we're like returning to that and also having opportunities to jump back and see them in one-shots and stuff while we're also in campaign 3. And then it's interesting because it is a consecutive narrative, but then it becomes this kind of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey, like all happening at once in a weird way,
right.
Which is delightfully confusing in my brain sometimes, and why I'm very thankful to have someone like Dani at my side to go like, wait, Dani, remind me, I'm not crazy, right? And she's usually like, well, yes, you are, but also that is correct or incorrect. And I'm like, thank you, Dani. So.
She's amazing. I just have to say, like, I love how much fans get into everything and like know the lore and like really, because we're on my Discord and I love the theories that they all come up with.
That's one of my favorite things, and things I wish I had more time to dive into is seeing people's thoughts and ideas and unique theories on where these stories are going. And I remember I used to occasionally pop in and see like the handful of people that would guess things right and be like, oh, they're gonna really love it when it happens, and other interesting theories that I'm like, oh, that's actually really cool. Kind of sad that wasn't what I was going for, but that's a cool idea. It's wild, and that sort of passion is infectious. And Dani is just one of those examples of a person who's not just exemplary in their passion and their attention to detail, but is just a genuinely good person, and has been with us pretty much since the beginning.
Yeah.
And I have so much respect trust and love for everything that she brings to our weird little family that and keeps me sane through a lot of it too. So thank you, Dani.
Yay. Yeah, I still remember the stories of her camping out, telling you all you need to hire her, and she was adorable from day one, but it's different when somebody's like really passionate about something and get into it, and then there's Dani, who's a whole other level of like, no, I know, like I'm there. She lives in Exandria. There's no way she doesn't.
Pretty much, about as much as I do.
Now, okay, so I have a question that so I've actually wanted to ask you this since we started working together, but it's just never come up.
Okay,
Yeah. So when we first started working together and you gave me a lot of information, I was like, wow, you've already done it. A lot of world building. Is Exandria the only world you've ever built like that?
Like this? Yes. Oh God, yes. I've never had this time and drive to do this. I've done small scale world building before this for like previous campaigns. I did, in like the mid 2000s for friends. I expanded a bit on Barovia for a Strahd campaign that I ran back then in 3.5 Expedition to Ravenloft. I did a custom campaign that I was co-DMing with my friend Zach before the Vox Machina crew got together. That was with Taliesin, Marisha, and Luis Carrazzo was in that campaign. It's kind of how he got pulled into all this chaos, was because we all used to play together before the streaming games was a thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that one, with my co-DM, Zach Hanks, we both kind of built the world together for a bit there, but nothing on the scale of Exandria. I mean, it wasn't even meant to be this big. Like when we first, we're playing at home to the point where we even started streaming, I only had maybe like half of Taldore as a blink in my eye, just this little glimmer that would slowly expand as their story did, and I would build as was necessary. And then once just the passion grew and the attention and the questions, a lot of it was like early on having people who were engaging me like, well, what's north of the dividing plains? Or like, what are these aspects of the world? And the questions would force me to start thinking about what that would be. And then that would lead to more cool ideas. And then it kind of spurred me to go into hyper active world building mode because I was excited to see where these questions and threads would take my brain. So nothing like this, and I don't know if I would have the emotional bandwidth to do something on this scale again.
Right.
Over a 10-year period.
Right, you're definitely going to have to stay in Exandria because I can't imagine having the time or energy to be able to do this with a whole other world.
Well, I think what I'm excited for is a large part of that challenge stems from the fact that the nature of our, start as a small group of people into the weight that's been on my shoulders to kind of build all this, self-imposed a lot of the time because I was the only person kind of setting up this game for so long. I'm excited in the future to make that process more collaborative. There's so many talented people out there with wonderful ideas that are far more interesting and fun than things I could have ever come up with, and most of my fun, interesting ideas I've already put into the world. So I'm it's not that I'll ever stop world building or making things. I just look forward to making it with more people as opposed to just being alone in my office going, oh God, I hope this is fun.
Right. And a cartographer going, so can I draw this yet? Do you have the stuff on this? Can I draw this yet?
Like, I will soon, Devin, I will, I promise. Let me lock it in a little further.
I just can't help myself. I'm just like, I need to. It's there. I have to.
Oh no, it's always a joy, and I got plenty of fun ideas in the near future to collaborate on. So don't worry.
The other thing is because like I get so the funny thing is I get to watch like a lot of the people on my Discord talk about theories about areas and stuff, and then I realize I can't answer some things because I can never remember what you've given me that I've read and what you've actually said in the show. So there's times where they're like, oh, they're going to go here, and there. And I was like, oh, wait, oh my God, did he say anything? I'm just not going to reply.
It's probably, the safer route is just simply be like, I'm going to let them keep.
Right. Plus, I love watching them find out the things that you've put in the world. Like there's so much joy in watching them discover what you've pieced together.
That's the thing, man. Like I know this group really well after this amount of time we've been playing.
Yep.
And the tenets that they really engage with and love, one of the major ones is exploration. It's getting to a new location that is unique and fantastical in ways they haven't really seen or experienced, interacted with, and trying to find those moments of wonder, those moments of terror, those moments of anticipation and anxiety when they arrive at something that is new. And that is something that all of them enjoy as a crew. And whenever the opportunity arises in the narrative to leap to a new location like that, it's so much fun. And getting to the Shattered Teeth right now in the campaign, and getting to explore a very new area in Exandria for everyone involved, both players and community, and only getting to see a little taste of it has been a lot of fun.
It's just so cool. It's just so cool.
I look forward to the prospect in the future of getting to work with you on figuring out how maps of a 40-plus island continent cluster that's constantly shifting could possibly function. So,
I already have ideas.
That's what I like to hear.
The moment you're like, they move, I was like, they move? Oh, that was it. I actually have I keep OneNote. Like I have a OneNote software. I keep notes on things that you say during stream. Or anything that comes to mind. Yeah, because I'm like, I won't share them yet because, I have to edit this at some point. But, just in case, everything takes like a couple of weeks between when I record it and when it's actually live. So I don't want to say anything. But yes, I have ideas.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I'm glad people are taking notes, because I don't remember half the things that come out of my mouth when we're doing an episode. Once again, leaning on folks like you and Dani. So much as like, I don't, sure, yeah, there's a big fiery tree or whatever, it's, and I forget it the minute it's said out loud. So all you note takers, you're great.
Right. Do you ever re-watch your episodes to try to remember what you said?
Every now and then, with specific details. Like I'll try to maintain consistency. If there's a specific note that I want to just confirm I recall correctly, if there's a particular NPC that I want to ensure that I can kind of dial in the ballpark of how they sounded and acted, if it's been a while since I've inhabited them. And honestly, a lot of the things in the sessions are not prepared. They're just made up on the spot between me and the players. And so I have to go back and be like, okay, so what happened? So now I can actually write it down and add it to my notes for future reference.
Even more reason to love Dani and crit roll stats.
Oh, yeah. All good, wonderful people.
Yeah. So, all right. So we've talked about previous episodes on here. I've talked with other people about improv and what it is like running a production to begin with. Last episode I had talked to was Elder Eye, the guys from D4, just amazing. Yeah. And we were talking about doing productions and everything else and putting it out there, and like how incredibly expensive it is, and everything that really goes into it. And although we know that obviously you're not doing things live anymore, in that respect, everything still runs the same as when you're live, I'm assuming, because you don't do the editing or anything else.
Yeah, it's still all live, or live to tape as we call it. The process is the same. We implemented the recording process over the pandemic to give us a 2-week window in case anyone did end up getting COVID, that we would not have to go dark for a week. We could maintain kind of a production schedule. And then that buffer became very nice, actually, for our own comfort. And it allowed, in some cases, the ability to to not be running ourselves absolutely ragged week to week throughout the year. We were like, wait, I can actually take like a spring break vacation for the first time in 7 years.
The fuck out.
I know, it was like we realized, because when you're doing it every Thursday like that for so long, and then all the production stuff in between, we realized outside of like the holidays, we didn't really do anything for ourselves, and we're working on a lot of weekends too. So
Yeah.
The live to tape recording has definitely given us a little bit more wiggle room with that for our own mental health, which is nice. But yeah, other than that, the production is pretty much exactly the same.
Right. I remember getting emails from you at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, "What are you doing awake? Go to sleep." I mean, I don't know what I'm doing awake at 1 o'clock in the morning either, but like,
I'm gonna say, not one to talk.
yeah, no.
I'll sleep when I'm ashes. It's fine.
Right, pretty much, yeah. How nervous are you still doing improv at the table?
It's interesting. I'm nervous right before a game, and I'm nervous right after. I'm not that nervous during the game. Once we get into it, then it's just kind of like a flow state that you kind of fall into, and a lot of that just stems from being there with my friends. Like, once we're all around that table, the minutes leading up to the camera, and honestly, there's something very, I don't know, there's something very like energetically kickstarting in having Sam do his stupid little ad reads. I say with absolute love, because it's Sam's little bit of creativity he gets to work on every week and find ways to surprise us and mess with us and make us groan, make us laugh, and that is always such a nice little kickoff to the rest of the game that kind of helps everything else fade away and be back to just us all at the table fooling around and making each other laugh, making each other cry, and being silly. So the leading up to that, the half an hour before we start recording, I'm feverishly finishing maps in my map room. I'm poring over my notes. I get the butterflies in my stomach, and I have to like talk myself down, and it doesn't go away. It's it's just kind of a little part of that anxiety that just sits in my stomach, and in some ways I guess I'm thankful for it, because you can harness it a little bit. But man, you don't know how many times some of our wonderful crew have to be like, "Hey Matt, could you dab the sweat and oil off your forehead? You're sweating. We haven't even started recording." I'm like, dang it, you're right.
You're starting a glare. Please tone that down a little. Yeah.
It's a thing. Yeah. We have those little like rice paper blotters underneath my table just in case.
Oh yeah, and the other thing is, I don't think that a lot of people realize how many. I know that yes, you're an actor and you have done things in front of a camera outside of this, but that isn't your happy place, so to speak. That's one of the reasons you do voice acting.
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, I hate being on camera.
That's why I have a podcast.
yeah. Like a lot of it stems from just a lifetime of discomfort about my to get real here. A lot of it is body dysmorphia related. A lot of it is self-image related. A lot of it is just a not feeling comfortable in my body, and knowing a camera is present puts like multiple layers of self-consciousness on me, and my physical, like, feeling like I'm in my body. I have like layers of discomfort that I have to work through, and that's why I love voiceover. That's why I dislike having pictures taken of me, unless I'm in a particular mood, or it's with good people. And the hilarity that streaming ended up becoming such a big part of my life for this is a continuous journey through therapy and comfort that my friends help me with. Like if it was just me, I would probably lost my mind by now. But because it's all of us together and we're laughing together, and I forget the cameras are there and try not to look back at episodes too much for the same reasons, like, then it seems to work out okay. But yeah, it is my least favorite, or one of my least favorite parts of the job is being on camera as much as I am.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I absolutely not. And again, not like I hate how I look, but I also don't like how I look, if that makes sense.
I get that.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know, especially on cameras or whenever I see pictures of myself, I'm like, oh God, why do I look like that? Not like I think I'm like, oh, hideous. I just don't like my expressions. I don't like the way I look. I'm ridiculously pale, so I just look really flat white in all my photos. Yeah, so I just look, and all of my friends look super tan in comparison to me, and I'm just like, oh wow. Let's just never take a picture of me again.
Oh man, I am the master of the absolute like unattractive dork face when photos are taken of me that I'm not aware of. You know, as soon as nothing will spike my anxiety faster than realizing that somebody just got a photo of me that I wasn't aware of or posing for.
Right.
Because I'm like, oh, that is going to be the worst picture, and I have no control over that, and I need to just take a minute to work through that anxiety.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Oh yeah, I have flat out like, please delete that. Like, I don't want to be mean. Please delete. I'll pose for a picture. Please just delete that.
I feel bad. I told Mercer she tried to take a picture of me and Omar sometimes, even just at home, just for ourselves, and I'll be like, can you delete that picture? She's like, no, I want to keep it. And like, it's just my own, you know, stupid brain voice being bad, like they are for a lot of us. Yeah. Trying to work through it, but yeah, it's just an overall instinctive discomfort. But you know, we find our ways to cope, work through it, and hopefully over time be better about it. I'm hoping therapy will continue to help with.
I just make dumb faces.
That's my thing too. That's why I can't make a normal face in a photo. I like to know when a photo's happening, so I can make a ridiculous face. I have this like kind of go-to with like one eyebrow raised with a little grin. It's practically the classic internet meme DreamWorks face. Right. But it's one that I think looks the least ridiculous, and I can get to it quickly, and that's my kind of go-to. Outside of that, it's monster faces, it's big goofy expressions, because that's kind of what I hide behind. But it's just it's an old comfort zone, I guess.
Yeah. See, now the thing that sucks with digital cameras and stuff is they don't white me out anymore. Like before, in the bad cameras and film and everything, I just look like a white blob in the picture with everybody.
Like an orb that's haunting the photo.
Yep. It was
just
great.
Encrypted.
Yes. Right now, all of my friends like could pretend that they knew, you know, like have photos of ghosts and stuff. It was great. We could do paranormal, but no, now digital cameras fucking accommodate that, and you can see me in the pictures, and I hate it so much. And everyone's like, "Oh, you should make videos for the podcast." Fuck that! I don't want to be on camera.
So I said, I see people doing all these amazing VTuber things online. I'm like, oh, that's the route.
Right? Oh yeah, I watch all these people on TikTok, and there's a part of me that's like, oh, I should do that. And then I'm like, what the fuck am I saying? I hate being on camera.
Yeah, I know.
If I could find something to do where the camera's not pointed at me, I am 100% behind it. But otherwise, nope.
VTuber tech, just saying.
Yeah. Oddly enough, if I could just draw all day and not do anything else and somehow magically get paid for it, I would do that.
Hey.
Sometimes. Like, I'm trying.
There has to be a way, right?
Right? Yeah. So, what is the thing? If you could do not again, no shade at all about Critical Role, because everyone knows, you know, obviously how much passion you'll put into it. But if you could do anything all day long and somehow magically get paid for it, what would it be?
Like as an actual like job thing, or like anything ever?
Anything ever.
Anything ever.
Anything ever. I mean, yeah, anything ever. What would it be?
Oh no.
I love that response. Oh no.
It would be a toss-up. It would be quietly playing video games, and I say that because people are like, well, just stream online, you know, just
right.
I'm like, no, this is for me. I don't want to talk to a camera. I just want to look. I just want to play it quietly to myself, for myself. Like,
yes.
if that was the thing, nobody was watching, and I get paid for it, that'd be great.
Great. I just want to play the game, not even be on camera.
yeah, that'd be great. Mm-hmm. I have so many games I need to play. The stack of games that are waiting for me is immense. Oh my goodness. So my retirement plan is to just eventually one day when I can step away from all this, to just get through all the games that I haven't played over the years.
Me and you, I'll take you through Baldur's Gate with me.
Please, let's do it. I can go. The other one would be travel. Travel would be the other thing. I want to, if I could just fly around the world and be paid for it, and just like go to different countries and experience different cultures, and just wander and hike and hop into random, pubs and diners and homes and meet people, and that would be the other thing.
Yeah, I mean that's actually one of the conversations we originally had, was talking about getting into the fantasy maps and stuff that I made, and meeting people, and I know that it's not the headcanon of anyone who hires me to do it. It doesn't matter to me. It just matters, like, for me. Also, because if you're drawing 8 to 10 hours a day, you need something to occupy your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I go in and I meet tons of people in the maps and stuff that I create, and we've had a really neat talk about how much I don't think other people realize how much their interactions with us make such a tremendous difference. Not necessarily, not like we're copying anybody for world building or stuff, but like the little things that they talk about with their culture or their religion, or even their daily routines in their lives, sometimes make such a huge impact that when you go to world build, it's like, you know what? I remember talking to somebody and they did this every time that they made tea. And it's just something you end up adding to an NPC.
Oh yeah. I mean, so much of being a world builder is just listening and watching, to meeting new people and being excited to learn about other people and their experiences in the world, to learn about other points in history, to learn about, extremely wonderful celebrations and climactic shifts in time and the world behind us, and tragic ones too, and why they happen and how they should be avoided. I didn't realize for many years, but what I thought was just a personal fun thing I do every night. It's probably like 15 years ago, I would just stay up late on Wikipedia, going through Wikipedia rabbit holes, and just like kind of follow one link to the next, to the next, to the next, and just be up till like 2 a.m, learning about anything that weirdly crossed my attention span for that period. And so much of that informed a lot of my world building and the things that excited me and inspired me. There are so many NPCs that are their mannerisms and their means of engaging and emotions are inspired by people I've either known for a long time or people I've crossed paths with at a grocery store. People watching is such a healthy thing. One, for just empathy, just to meet people and really get to experience. What's the word? Sonder, I think is the word that means, the understanding of that every person in this world, no matter how brief you meet them or cross their path, has their own story, their own passions, their own life that they've lived, and that is very much the experience of somebody who does this for a living. No matter how it comes through maps or GMing or writing or so many other facets of that sort of creation process. Is Sonder. It's really important to allow yourself the time for that.
Oh yeah. So if you hadn't taken up DMing, would you have become a writer?
I don't know if I would have had the confidence to do that, honestly. I don't know if I still have the confidence to do it. People are like, when are you going to write a novel? I'm like, I will never write a novel. I don't think I can. I could write, a campaign book apparently, and even that I wasn't sure I could do. And thank goodness there are talented editors and wonderful collaborators that I'm sure make me look good.
Neil Gaiman writes short stories as well. You don't have to write a whole novel. He does.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, if the inspiration hits me and there's a period of time in my life in the future where I have the free time, I would love to.
Oh man, we just need to give up sleeping if that's possible. Right?
People are like, oh, you created Dunamancy. I'm like, it was created out of my wish to have more time.
Right? So, we all make jokes about, especially as DMs, we make jokes about self-insertion. NPCs, which my players will tell you. I've made myself a god in one of the worlds that we played in originally, and it's starting to happen again. It wasn't on purpose. It's just okay, I know you know what I mean. Even though you never want to punish your players, their characters sometimes do really dumb shit.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's not punishment, it's consequence.
Right, exactly. And there's just so much that you could piss off a god or goddess before shit's gonna fucking get real, okay? If your character's gonna fuck around, they're gonna find out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So but I there's a same concept. So the Wandering Mistress is something that I made a while ago, and I kind of made her because everyone kept talking about a patron goddess for cartographers. So I made her for that, but also jokingly because I did it for my players. Because can I just say how much they love to tease me about getting any notoriety in the RPG space? Because we've been playing together for close to 20 some odd years.
That's awesome.
Right. And I love them to pieces. But from day one, when my name started getting out there and I was like, okay, I'm already being asked whether or not I DM and how much of our game do we want to talk about. And so they started making jokes. Well, you can talk about your characters and the things that you make. Y'all think you're fucking funny, right? So then when I made the Rue the Cartographer, I was endlessly teased about when she was going to show up in their game. Oh yeah, so now I actually do as close as I'm ever going to self-insert, because I'm the whole world.
It's true.
I'm the world, I'm the planet, I'm everything that they interact with, so I don't need to insert anything. But I occasionally do anyhow.
Okay.
How much of your... Right. It's just you having fun with your friends. This is the goofy ass shit that you tease each other about. So of course you fucking put it in game. But you all are on camera. How much can you not put certain jokes between you all online? Or do you just not care?
I don't really care.
Yeah.
We do. A lot of times it just kind of comes out naturally. And even inside jokes that nobody in our, audience would have any idea what the hell we're talking about, and we make the gag and be like, oh, no one's gonna know what that is, but whatever, keep going. It's part of that is because we still continue to foster that game space to still be just us, to be our home game. I know people keep like, well, it's a business now, or it's 2-base, it's not just a home game. I'm like, no, the two can coexist. It is a business, and we are doing a lot of things that we're really proud of and we're working really hard on. And, we are trying to succeed in the terrors of late-stage capitalism the best we can, ethically and with good people. And at the same time, our show is our home game. And we, from the very beginning, have always felt that it's most important to kind of keep that sacred space as just us playing and having fun. Could we up production value? Could we up, the narrative flow to make it more succinct, and to rehearse beats, or to work out what we're going to do for each episode in advance, and for me to plot out things weeks in advance and do all these things that make it a much better presentational thing? Sure. Are we? No, because it's still just our home game, and we like it that way. And that means we say off-the-cuff things all the time that nobody else will get, and little inside jokes that I'm sure are really annoying for a lot of people that watch it, but it makes us laugh, so we don't care.
Right.
So yeah, that always happens. I don't really have a god self-insert necessarily. The closest I would say is our tag-in is definitely kind of my id self-insert.
Gotcha.
My weird, every now and then, that weird playful mode that kicks in when I'm at a party with friends and I have a couple drinks and I start getting mischievous. That's kind of where the Artagan comes from.
Can we talk about how dark you get? First off, I have to say the Goth in me loves that. I love when you get so fucking creepy that everyone else looks genuinely uncomfortable. Like, obviously your players trust you 100%, but like, I love that.
I love it too.
That is my favorite. I'm just over there eating that up.
Look, we all got our dark spots. I gotta exercise it somehow. I'm
Right.
very much, not that kind of person in real life, so I have to find an outlet, and I do that in my games.
Right? I mean, hey, all the goths I know are actually really happy people.
That's why I love the goth community. Like, honestly, like in the mid 2000s, when me and Taliesin became close friends, I had all these preconceived notions of what like goth clubs were based on like
Yeah.
media, and I just didn't understand it. And he was like, "Oh, sweet summer child, I'm gonna take you on a tour of the Los Angeles goth club scene," and I loved it because on top of the fact that the aesthetics and the clothing and the presentation is so theatrical and very much a vibe that I really enjoyed. The music is fantastic.
Uh-huh.
Everyone, for the most part, in a lot of these places, are also just nerds and theater nerds, and very respectful and lovely, and not at all what people probably think they are. And you get the creeps here and there, but for the most part, especially compared to the standard club experience, far safer, far more like secretly nerdy, and just an absolute delight.
Oh yeah, we put up a complete front for the average person because if we make you afraid to come up to us, then you don't get to know all our secrets. We get to keep them in our community, and we're okay with that. We only have people that could accept that, Because I mean it is so much about it. So much about it I love. Plus, oh my God, speaking of Candela Obscura.
Oh yeah.
That is just brilliant. Fuck. Okay, every time I now make my players watch this with me because we've been playing in the same world for roughly almost, I want to say close to 15 years. So we dive into every kind of culture, and we get to go on different sort of planes of that world. And I now want to take them into something akin to Candela Obscura because, it's just so nice.
It's a fun space. I mean, it was spawned originally from Talison's brain, very much the aesthetics that he's always loved to kind of exist in.
Yeah.
This, being around for multiple centuries, and then having Spencer, Rowan, and the whole team run with it's just been so much fun to watch where it goes from there. Another testament to collaboration and just everyone bringing something great to the table, and then getting a chance to play it, kicking it off. It was a nerve-wracking experience because it's just, establishing a setting, establishing a system, establishing a whole different mood and means of playing than what we usually do, and but it was very cool to kind of set that tone so then every GM thereafter can just go straight into a sprint. And Spencer's been knocking out of the park in the new season.
Yeah.
The next one is going to be really great too. And I actually just got a chance to read through the final book, which is coming out in the near future. We got the final early prints of it in to go through and approve and everything, and it just looks so pretty. It's so pretty.
Oh, I can't wait. Do you have to prep to get into a darker mood?
I do. And more of it is mood setting. It's music. I'm a very music oriented person when it comes to mood and mindset. So I have various playlist moods that I listen to, depending on the type of game that I'm going to run or going to experience. And so, for Candela in particular, I have a bunch of playlists that are like Diablo soundtracks, Dark Souls soundtracks, some just kind of that old Castlevania soundtracks, things that kind of fit into that dark but still beautiful vibe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought those really kind of helped me get into the mood, and revisiting some films that inspired me growing up, horror films that really kind of hit those particular threads of occult horror in particular is my favorite genre of horror that normally isn't done very well, but the ones that do really stand out to me.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say, because I love to put things out into the universe, but if somehow, some way we could get Elvira to come on, I'd kill for that. I would.
Oh my goodness.
I love her. Oh my God, I love her.
Oh, same. Cassandra Peterson's incredible.
Yes.
That was watching the first Elvira film when I was a teenager was definitely an awakening on multiple stages. Goth awakening, teenager, male awakening.
Female too, trust me.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But also getting to learn about her as a person and how she survived and thrived in an industry, especially a niche part of the industry that normally is notoriously not welcoming. Yep. Learning more about her deep-seated roots in queer culture and queer communities, and just her learning more about her life as she became more comfortable being herself in recent years as well. Like, she's just such an awesome person. I've had the opportunity to shake her hand at a convention years ago and just got completely flummoxed. But who knows? Maybe some point in the future we'll find something to drag her into. That'd be fun.
You know what? I believe that she, and as everyone else that I ever admired, would listen to my podcast. So of course she's heard this. She's yes. Just yes.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. So if you could have any, because we've talked about this. So we've talked about obviously having oh God, Neil Gaiman, but I lost his name all of a sudden. It went out of my head because we talked about Elvira. He did Hamilton.
Oh, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes. I don't know why his name left me, but it did. And I'm leaving that in there because I fuck up. But yes. So we've talked about having him on there as well. But if you could play and have them, whether it's on stream or not, who would you like at your table?
Oh my goodness.
Right.
I mean, for the longest time it was Stephen Colbert, and that happened twice. So
right?
It's kind of hard for me to recover from that still to this day. I do have something coming up with a cool person that I can't talk about yet that I'm excited to play with. I mean, Neil would be great to play with. I've met him a few times, many years ago, and then it's a weird connecting tissue in that world. I've been longtime friends with Scott McCloud, who wrote Understanding Comics, Reinventing Comics, Zod, a bunch of other stuff. I used to go to game night at his house every Friday, because I did a community theater with his wife, Ivy, back in the early 2000s when I was like 19, 20, and so we were friends for a very long time. And then Scott and Neil were very close friends. Neil's like the godfather of Scott and Ivy's kids, and so I got to meet him in non-professional settings, and he's just an absolute delight. And one of these days I hope to reconvene with him and talk. I saw him briefly at Ivy's funeral. She unfortunately passed not too long ago, and so it wasn't the best time to catch up, but I hope we have an opportunity in the future to catch up again. And if he ever wants to roll dice, I would love that. He's such a grand storyteller.
Oh man, him on Candela would be,
Oh my goodness.
Right? Oh. Okay. I have to stop fangirling because I absolutely would die over that. But yeah. So we've again, things that we've broached about before, but don't really get to expand on. I love that you once said fame is relative. I've quoted that so many times since you said it to me, because the amount of people that have like come up and like, again, my players are slightly different because they knew me way before all this started, but they actually knew me before when I had a different art career and are really kind of amazed. But to have people fangirl over you never ever feels it. Never, you don't get used to it.
No, I hope not. If you ever get used to it, that's not a good thing.
Right. but it's so odd to have people like, oh my God, you're famous, and then you're like, yeah, but kind of at the same time I'm not, and you are so on the cusp of that far more than I am. So I can't even imagine like especially as a voice actor, and you end up working with all of these people, and now that you're having, your own animated series, Dave Tennant,
That was wild.
right? Like, you are so many Kevin Bacon type things going on here.
Maybe we'll get him on a series in the future.
Oh, there you go. That would be. Then it would just tie everything together perfectly.
Oh my goodness.
All right. How do you still have that feeling like you're going to walk up to someone and they're going to be like, "Who are you?" Or
this still happens all the time. I never approach somebody with the expectation they know who the fuck I am, because that would be weird and just setting up for disappointment. No, it never gets not strange having any sort of infamy, and that's the other one of my least favorite things about this career is the attention.
yes,
I'm a fairly private person and want only to engage positively and inspire people, but with any sort of notoriety comes especially in the modern day social media, a perpetual swath of seemingly unwarranted negativity and personal attack, and people people just decide that you're the villain of their story for no particular reason, and then build communities around it. And you're like, what is going on? So, like, I don't know, that aspect of the fame to me is extremely unfortunate, and kind of something relatively recent with the rise of social media, and I mean, not helped in a world that the perpetual doom scrolling sense of the world burning makes everyone angry, and they need somewhere to put it. And I understand that. I don't begrudge anybody that. I just would like it to not be my target. But to the same point, the odd thing is, especially post-pandemic, we're still in a pandemic, but I'd say in the more lenient era of this pandemic,
right?
How much more recognition happens in public than before. I never expected a D&D stream, even with the success that we've seen, to be as widespread as it is on such a diverse scope of people across the world. But I'd say on average, whenever me and Marisha go out, whether it be dinner or the grocery store, on average at least once we'll be recognized. Sometimes multiple times, in places we wouldn't expect.
Yep.
We'll have like a nice date dinner, like a steakhouse or something, and multiple servers know us, and then it feels like what we call Nerd Fight Club, where
Yep.
they're treating you really nice the whole night, and at the very end they lean and be like, by the way, big fan of your work, and it's very, very like, right this way, Mr. Durden. It has that sort of vibe to it. But everyone's been very sweet, but it also means there's a vanishing of privacy.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when me and Marisha were like on a Sunday morning walking down our neighborhood to the Boston market just to pick up like some mashed potatoes and chicken. We're in our pajamas. We haven't washed in 3 days. We're greasy and just a couple of, gnarled hobbit folk. And someone recognizes us and like, oh my God, it's you guys from Critical Role. We're like, oh great, hi. Like, can we get a picture? And we both had this like collective sigh of like, really?
Right.
Oh, I look like garbage, hot garbage. But like, people are very respectful and very sweet. But there is kind of as private people, and Marisha even more than me, she's a deep introvert, and I swing back and forth a bit. Sometimes I can be more extroverted and kind of really thrive on being social around people. Other times I can be very much the opposite. Marisha mostly sits in that introverted mode most of her life. Right. And if given the choice of like, do you want to go out and go to this friend's birthday party, or do you want to stay home and not do anything? It's a real hard push to get her to choose the former.
Yeah. Me and Marisha, we're kindred spirits.
Yeah. Which is great. I mean, I also love doing that. So whenever we do decide to go out, and then there's more and more recognition, more and more people, pulling us aside, it's an odd adaptation we're still processing. Because we still feel like it's just us in our studio, and people we work with, and even going to this convention this past weekend. When we're recording this, we just returned from Portland, our first real convention back at Rose City Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful to finally re-engage the community face to face, and shake so many hands, and hear people's stories, and make eye contact and smile and laugh with people and cry with people, and I love that facet of it. And then we'd go out to dinner, and unrelated to the convention, run into people, and it was so consistent and kept happening to where at a certain point that anxiety begins to build up inside, and that urge to just leave early and go back to the hotel room and not be perceived begins to creep up. That dark shadow of like, I just want to be, and to nobody's fault, I just want to be left alone for a bit.
Right.
Becomes very strong.
I absolutely emphasize for a lot of people because, as you know, I am partially blind. I go through being way overstimulated with like auditory issues and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I just go into overload, and then I just kind of don't want to talk to anybody. And a lot of people perceive this as me being angry or unhappy with them or whatever. And I also don't think that a lot of people realize, like, you have bad days. Like, I understand that as hard as we, or anybody who ends up being recognized by people, even our social interactions on the internet, you try your best. You don't ever want to be an asshole to somebody for no reason.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you end up having bad days every once in a while. And there's times where, like, I had somebody turn around and tell me not too long ago about how we had a really, really bad interaction, and they don't know why, but I clearly didn't like them. And I was like, I don't even know who you are. Like, I don't want to be mean, but when did I talk to you? Let me have a bad day.
Yeah. It's harsh having that notoriety and that possible experience where people have an expectation of who you are at all times, and the pressure to be on. It's tough, and I don't want any of this to sound like I'm not grateful. I'm extremely grateful for so many things. It's just it's part of the unique, unforeseen sacrifice that comes with it. Like we can't go to Ren Fair anymore. We can't.
Oh.
We had to make the choice. It's just not feasible. Beyond the fact that part of the fun about going to Ren Fair is dressing up and talking with silly accents and drinking way too much and being sloppy and buying things you probably can't afford and regretting it tomorrow morning when you're hungover, and that's part of the joy of the Renaissance Fair. But when we started having people taking secret pictures of us at the Ren Fair and posting them on Reddit, and people judging our revelry on online forums, and it was just like, oh, this is really uncomfortable, and it's just another thing that we love that we aren't comfortable doing anymore, and that will continue to be a trend in some ways, I'm sure. Is it not worth it? No, I'm the positive things, the things we get to do, the people we get to work with, the joy we hopefully get to bring is worth the sacrifice, but it's still a sacrifice, and it still sucks. And man, fame's weird.
Yeah. And we're still ruining D&D,
I know, we're destroying it.
I fucking hope so. I hope, again, because I have been playing since 1980s. And I still remember, like, going to a game shop, wanting so desperately to play, because at that point I didn't have my group. And just wanting to, like, technically I didn't even ask to sit at a table. I just wanted to be in the room and, like, see how the table interacted. Because I can't stress this enough, people. Find your table. Don't stay at a table where you're uncomfortable or unhappy. Like, that's the thing about Critical Role that is why you all are so goddamn successful, is because it is a table of friends, of immense trust. And the reason that it shouldn't change, the reason that, as much as like, yes, Critical Role is now a business, but the reason like it shouldn't change with who's at the table is because it is really, really hard to find a table where you can have that much trust and fun and just time to play and enjoy the game especially with as many people as you have at your table. That is so incredibly rare. You have a much easier time finding your life partner than you are a table at D&D where you all get along that well.
Yeah, man, I have so many stories of games I used to play where just one person at the table can ruin the experience, and we all talked, and we talked to the person who ruined it, and they apologized, and we went our separate ways, and that's entirely healthy and mature.
Yeah.
And nowadays, especially, there's a lot more options out there.
Oh God, yeah.
There are wonderful. There are whole apps that are based around, like Demiplane and other products out there that are about helping connect people for online gaming or local gaming. And because those options are there, it's far less of a, well, I'll take whatever I can get than it used to be. It's not gonna be perfect for everyone, but it's much better than it used to be. And sometimes the patience is worth it if it really doesn't feel like you're comfortable there, if it doesn't feel like it's your vibe or the type of people that you want to, invest in, and that's okay.
Because this is an incredibly emotional hobby. This is where we get to have the childhoods we couldn't have while growing up. Where we get to fall in love with people that we normally wouldn't ever get the opportunity to meet. Get to be the heroes where we wouldn't otherwise, or the villains in my case. And a time where, you get to actually be an adult who still gets to play, where everything else in our lives doesn't allow us. There's nothing else that we can do on a daily basis other than play RPGs that we won't get looked at like there's something the matter with us if we were doing the same thing. We can't do this at work. What are we going to roll dice and have a coworker like, all right, let's roll for the report. Like that doesn't work. I would be funny though.
Not yet.
Yeah. Slowly. We're going to make that happen.
We'll get there with that.
But you know what I mean? Like, so, I can't stress enough to anyone listening. I get great responses from people talking about not knowing how to approach other people at their table, or just making it okay to be silly.
Oh yeah. And talk. Like between sessions at break time. There's no fear in going to the other players or to your game master after a session and expressing any discomfort or expressing excitement at something that you want to try and explore with your character, or a dynamic between you and another player that you think is pretty fun, that you guys could try and lean into down the road, or being able to broach any of these conversation topics outside of the game, to where there isn't like a spotlight pressure or anxiety being put on any one or particular number of people, is an extremely healthy way to maintain a game session. And even if there's somebody who you're having a hard time with at the table after your first couple games, you can cut and run, but I would recommend having a conversation first, because how they react to that conversation will really inform whether or not that table is for you. Some people just don't realize that maybe they're taking things a little too far, or they're grabbing the spotlight too much, or they've maybe said or done something that makes you uncomfortable. And if you let them know that, and they take that like very, very much to heart and actively work to fix that and be better about that in the future, then that to me says a lot more about that being a more comfortable table going forward. Than if you not talk about it and just cut it off. Like, give people a chance to listen to you, and how they react and how they adapt really is what's key to learn if this table is for you or not.
Yeah. I'm also gonna have to add that and I completely understand DMs end up being the person who's, so to speak, in charge of the group as far as like storytelling and everything goes. That doesn't make us in charge of the individual interactions at the table between players.
We are not the therapist of the table,
Right.
at least outside of the game.
Right. So, if first off, yes, I generally at times make the joke with my players that I'm not a bartender. I actually have a shirt that says that. I have a shirt that says, "I'm not your bartender. I don't need, or I'll charge for therapy," or something like that.
Pretty great.
And because, this is how players are, especially when you are looking for a table. But also, I can't fix the problem that one player may be having with another. And I shouldn't be asked to do that, because if there's something going on with gameplay or storytelling, then yeah. But as a group, my players, I love them so much. They have a whole text thread of like how their characters interact with each other, which is great because they take care of a lot of like normally like personal conversations like two characters would have. They do a lot of that between sessions, which is awesome because it always feels like we're playing.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I also love, because we have a whole Discord that we have that's just us. And they also have like session notes for each other. If one of them does something that the other ones do or don't like, they don't gang up on each other, which is great. They just have a very, very open conversation. But that's hard. But it's also hard for your DM. Please don't, like, I can't stress this enough. We don't always know the answer either to how to make you all work well together.
It's extremely true.
I had so I used to co-DM because our table is actually really large. So I have 8 players. Yeah. 4 of which are partially blind to fully blind, I'm not fully blind, but I'm partially blind. So they're blind like I am, and then 4 of them are hard of hearing to fully deaf. So I have a co-DM who does all of our sign language and everything else, and she's fantastic. But she mostly plays a character and does a lot. I do almost all the world building and everything. And
that's great.
Yeah, she's fantastic to work with until we couldn't anymore. Because unfortunately, I'm very big on their privacy, so anything I talk about is either with their permission. This person already knows that I've shared this conversation, so if I'm sounding a little vague about certain things, it's because I remember I can't say certain things. But
that's okay.
Yep. But she unfortunately just didn't like the way one of our players was playing their character. And it wasn't, she was going through her own personal things, but the funny thing was, like, she never said anything to any of us. And then all of a sudden it just felt like she was really, really punishing that one player. To a little bit of an extreme point that I was like, okay, I'm going to end our session a little early because I don't know what's going on. This is just weird. And my players came up to me and I'm like, I can't answer you because I don't know. And I had to not force them to talk it out, but in a way, because I'm like, you can't put me in the middle. I'm not an owl, as Hermione says. I can't communicate what you're actually feeling as well as you can to someone else you're feeling it about. There's going to be too much unknowing. And that's really, really hard on a DM because I want my players to just enjoy our story and just not have to worry about the stress or feeling like they're being picked on.
Yeah.
So I really, again, DMs don't have the answer to everything, even though they're in charge of the story, not the players. Trust me, players have a mind of their own.
Truth.
Yes.
Yeah, it's still a social circle dynamic, you know, even with that power dynamic of, you know, dungeon master and player. Like, it's still a group of friends. It's, you know, so considering it that, you know, where everyone's kind of at an equal standing, and if you have any sort of challenges, to just take it directly and try and work it out as friends would if there was a disagreement or, you know, a misunderstanding that was causing tension. I mean, I think that's a good example of how, if, you know, if not handled, sometimes it just ends up being too much for someone to continue to enjoy a circumstance, and that's just how it works out sometimes.
Yeah, we ended up splitting our table though. Well, because the player that got picked on, which I thought was, this is almost humorous to me, decided that she wanted to learn how to DM.
Oh.
Yeah, because she was like, that was just mean of her. And I was like, I can't argue that. That was. And absolutely, you're right. And she's like, well, how do I DM? And I was like, oh God, I can't tell you how much that question makes me way too happy. And there's no short answer though, so this is going to take a bit.
What an origin story! It's like it's like how burning the certain seeds, you know, it helps them grow. You know, sometimes burning certain players can help them germinate into a DM. That's not true. I do not recommend doing that.
Yeah, please don't.
Please don't do that. But it's a unique origin story for that dungeon master, regardless.
yeah, and they're having a blast. I gave her all of my notes on the world, so they're still playing in our world, and our two groups occasionally meet up.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so I love it, but it's so that's the other thing, is that I never thought someone else playing in the world that I built would be as rewarding as it is. Like, because I'm like you, I'm not like super precious. Like, yes, the world that I've built is ours, and I love that we've created all these stories and history and everything in it, but and she was terrified to like add anything new or change anything. And I was like, no, please, by all means, go absolutely nuts.
Man, that's why I've had so much fun with EXU and EXU Calamity.
Okay, both of them blew it out of the water. Both Abrea and Brennan, just wow. I screamed at my monitor for both of them the entire time. Like, there were so many things I was yelling at my monitor. It's great.
Yeah, I love it. It's one of the things about collaboration, and also, you know, going to conventions and getting to hear stories about people's home Exandria games and the things they've changed and the things they've destroyed, and like those excite me too. There's something very creatively fulfilling about building something and then empowering others to then make it their own. Yeah. And because my version of it will always exist, you know, and it will only be improved through collaboration, and other people will find themselves getting more impassioned and inspired if they're given the permission to make it whatever they want. And I love that.
As always, our show is sponsored by Legend Keeper, a fantastic world-building tool, whether you're a writer, a GM, DM, or even a player. You can create a world, you can add all of your notes, you can determine who gets to see them, edit them, create their own. And if you own a project, you are the only person who has to have a subscription, so you can bring your players in for free, or your readers or your patrons. You can determine who can edit, who can see, who can view secrets. And there are so many really interesting tools on Legend Keeper that allow you to link pages, maps, images, sidebars, timelines, calendars, like you name it. There's so much about Legend Keeper that is so simple and yet incredibly effective. Is there anything that you are, I hate to use the word afraid, but or anything that makes you really nervous to tackle as a DM? Like any culture or any particular subject that you're like, I really want to do this, but I want to do it justice, and I'm afraid to not.
I mean, the odd balance I've been continuously trying to strike with Exandria is much like how a lot of mainstream high fantasy has European roots, but it's not starkly European, but it's heavily influenced by, and a lot of those threads are there, wanting to bring a lot of other cultural threads in a similar way to other parts of Exandria. It is a diverse world of many diverse cultures, but trying to find thread that needle of it being inspired by and inclusive and exciting for people of a number of cultures that aren't European, and working and collaborating with people who can help write and create from a place of personal experience and authenticity, and expanding those cultures, but also not make it directly those cultures to where it's a one-to-one. It's meant to be inspired by, but still be its own unique thing that shouldn't be hopefully held as a one-to-one to these real-world cultures. To me, that would be offensive in its own right. So that's something that I take very seriously, and is a perpetual point of anxiety with me. I'm very thankful that we have the means to collaborate with a number of very talented writers and continue to reach out to talented creators and writers to help both consult on and collaborate on building those parts of the world that I don't feel I have the authority to do on my own. And so that is a thing I'm very careful about, and want to make sure that I do as best as I can. As far as things I won't touch, I mean, there's many topics that that are X-carded for me. A lot of things that I don't feel are necessary for a home game, that is, put on the internet for people to watch. You can explore all sorts of themes at a home game that's private if everyone at the table is aware of the themes and feels comfortable. A lot of very hard topics that can be very cathartic to experience and play through in ways that involve a lot of communication between players and DM, but that's hard for me on a public scale to do, especially, and a lot of the things are based on what the players want to explore, and a lot of harder themes the players aren't interested in exploring, and I'm not interested in exploring it either. But leave those to the private games to do so. Certain kinds of abuse, certain kinds of dynamics that are extremely uncomfortable in those realms can be an interesting challenge to find the line where it is important to exhibit. Like in previous campaigns, abusive relationships between mentor and student, between parent and child. These are important themes that often breed heroes in the world because of the trauma they've gone through, and the healing of that trauma is a very cathartic experience. But those are also things you have to deal with care, that you have to speak with authority from personal experience, or speak with authority from very careful research and communication, and in the case of the games that are streamed, in a way that doesn't wantonly drag the audience into a space that might be too much for them to handle if they had experienced that same challenging circumstance. And you can't avoid it all the time. People have different comfort levels, but...
So this, I swear to God, it's not actually intended this way, but this is a perfect segue to a question that I was asked. If I would ask you, from a patron of mine, whether or not, where are all the therapists in Exandria?
The therapists? Well, we have FCG.
This is true. Well, that's what sparked the question. Like, whenever you've described a place, you've yet to describe, like, there's offices with a therapist.
No, that's valid. Well, it's interesting. In a lot of cases, I think the term therapist likely, I'm sure it might exist in some cultures in Exandria, but I think there's other terms for it. I think, me personally, I think a lot of, for some cultures, the clergy presents some form of therapy through faith and through prayer, and through going to various healers or spiritual philosophers for therapeutic advice. I think that's probably throughout many parts of Exandria. I think, honestly, many sex workers and companions historically in our world, let alone in Exandria as well, also spend a lot of their time as therapists to their clients as well. And for many people, that's what they go to more than anything else. I think people that are just, I am a therapist. They exist in there. They haven't had a very specific reason to come into our campaigns, because we have a lot of player characters that, like a lot of us in the real life, sometimes don't acknowledge the fact that perhaps they need therapy.
This is true. It's almost like we're avoiding it. It's weird.
Yeah. What an odd reflection of our own life experience.
Right?
But they're out there. They're definitely out there.
Oh, excuse me. As I burp, I'm so sorry.
Oh, how dare you?
I know, the nerve of me. Oh, it's hilarious. I forgot who I was recording with, but the entire time I was trying not to make any noises, but I just kept burping so bad that by the time that it got done, I muted the mic and let out the most hellacious burp I've ever fucking made in my entire life. And my wife, 2 rooms over, was like, "What the fuck was that?" I was like, I'm telling you, it's what's his name from The Simpsons. It was just the loudest thing I've ever made.
Hey, look, I'm married to Marisha and spent a lot of time with Laura Bailey. Those are the 2 loudest burpers I've ever met in my life, and I don't know where it comes from. I don't know what weird fucking stomach portal to the elemental plane of air they've both consumed. But the majority of Grog's burps in the animated series are either one or both of them.
Oh, wow.
Combined in post. We all took turns trying to do our own belches at the mic, and those 2 just blew everyone else out of the water. They're incredible.
Why does this not surprise me in the least?
I'm saying.
Especially for some reason, I very easily picture that with Laura.
It's like gut rattling. Like Jurassic Park, like all the drinks start shaking at the table. You're like, what?
She's coming. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, God. She must be a absolute hilarious to fucking listen to.
Oh, constantly. Also slap happy by the time we get together, too. Especially these days. It's
right.
We're untethered. It's
but
wild.
It's beautiful. I've never been able to tell you. So the reason that I even knew Critical Role existed was because in the same week, I had somebody, 2 different people, show me Critical Role. And
really?
Yes. One was somebody, again, I hate being on camera, and I had a friend of mine who really, really, really wants me to be a part of a show that they were going to do, which ended up not happening, so that's fine. But they were trying so desperately to convince me to be on the show. And so I used to, this is so convoluted. I've told you, I was raised by a wild pack of drag queens. I left my home at a young age, ended up with a bunch of drag queens that raised me. And then I actually ended up on stage, and this friend knows that I used to do drag. They desperately wanted me to go on a show in drag. And I was like, no, first off, who the fuck is going to want to watch this? Like, I'm ridiculously rude in drag. So they showed me you all having your dance party.
Oh, yeah.
With the answer of like, look, they'll record anything. People just love this show, and they're just like dancing to a video game. I was like, okay, but that looks like a lot of fun. And I think that they do something else, because like they're referencing other games. And then I heard you all reference D&D, and I was like, oh, is there another D&D show I don't know about? And then a couple of days later, I got a message from one of my players going, oh my God, there's a show that's like us. And I was like, I don't understand. And because they're all theater kids, I'm theater adjacent because I got into it after high school.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But we are all, again, we've been playing for so long and have just, when I say we're all drama queens, it's really bad. Oh yeah, we skipped right past playing at the table and dove right headfirst into LARPing.
Oh dang!
Yeah, like that was so. So we used to get together at my house and we would all be dressed up as our characters. We only eat in-game food. Like so we're there,
I love it.
So I was like, they're like, oh, you have to watch this. And they sent me an episode, the link to one of your episodes. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, I could see, because we all the same. I make the joke, I'm the Laura Bailey of our table. You say anything that's like remote. Well, no, it doesn't even have to be sexually related, and I can take it there.
Yeah, that's an impressive skill.
Thank you.
It's a trauma response now that like any word I say that's not a common word, I'm like, I look to Laura like, how's she gonna twist it this time? So
right?
good on the two of you.
Yeah. So much so that we've actually we've made comments over it. It's bad. But I was watching it, and the funny thing is, I recognized Laura's voice, and I was like, wow, that sounds so fucking familiar. Oh, this is killing me. Where do I know her from? Find out that she's like my favorite companion in Skyrim. That was it. I was addicted to Critical Role at that point on. So we can thank Laura for this.
There you go. Thank you, Laura, and Just Dance, the gateway drug.
Yes.
Weird internet content.
Yeah. I was like, and it was funny too, because I was like, yeah, I don't think that this is the only thing they do. Like, why would people tune into just this? Little did I know, because I'm old, so I don't.
I mean, little did we know at the time too. Let's be real.
Right. Oh man, how it's mind blowing to think you all used to get pizzas delivered while you were playing. You'd have food delivered. Like
we were such babes. We had no idea.
Right. I just, it was just so amazing to watch all of you like, oh my God, they're sending us food. Like, and then now, like every once in a while I'll have, somebody like in my Discord, like, oh, I'm starting to watch it again. And I'm like, starting to watch what? Which campaign? And they're like, oh no, all of them from the beginning. And I was like, what do you mean again? Like, how much fucking time do you have?
That's impressive. I am absolutely blown away by that. That's whoever you folks are, you're amazing. I live vicariously through you because that sounds awesome.
Right? What do you watch over and what is your favorite things to watch over and over again, even though you've watched it before?
Oh my goodness. The immediate thought that comes to my mind is so hackneyed and predictable, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh yeah.
It's such a comfort space for both me and Marisha.
Did you see the maps I made for Magic the Gathering?
Oh yeah. Made me so happy. I'm like, you get it, damn it.
Go ahead, sorry.
Beyond that, I will say things we've watched. I mean, I've watched another comfort thing we watch is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's one of my top films. Never-ending Story.
Which I've referenced way too many times in this podcast already.
yeah. I mean, I was listening to the soundtrack when I was driving earlier today. Georgia Moroder is so good in that.
I tell everyone I am that kid who in the middle of a rainstorm with a stolen book is absolutely screaming the princess's name out the window. That is me now. Okay.
Hell yeah. Chaya. As far as shows go, you don't get to watch a lot of media because we're busy working.
Making it.
I know. It's the other thing. The challenge of being a professional creative that works too much is you have to fill your cup sometimes. You can't be just pouring out, and that's my perpetual struggle is how to fill my cup enough by consuming other media that inspires me while also making it and being like. But I've rewatched the Wire series through 5 times now. It's just such a good show.
Right.
It's why we named our dog Omar. It was from Omar Little in the show. Michael K. Williams, he rest in peace. Such a talented performer. We tend to. There's some other comfort shows that we go back to. We've rewatched The IT Crowd a bunch. Because that was just a great.
Do you and
hilarious British
Marisha
show.
watch the same things? Like, do you end up like having the same type of like? Obviously, you guys have plenty in common, but you know what I mean. Like, is it the same comfort shows for both of you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
What were comfort shows for us independently, we've thus converted the other person into comfort shows for both of us, and
Right.
so they just become our own little couples comfort shows. And then, like, honestly, comfort gaming is a big thing for us.
Oh, yeah.
We keep going back to Stardew Valley. We've started like 5 different farms, and each farm we get through to like year 5 or 6. Marisha's 100%ed one we did over the pandemic, and she's itching to start a new one. Laura's been playing Stardew Valley for the first time recently, and so we've been like talking to her before games, being like, "So where are you? Are you?" She's like, I was thinking romancing Sam, but I think he's too young for me." Like, yeah, Sam's way too young for you. And we're like, oh my god, we're such nerds for Stardew Valley, and are just eagerly consuming any tidbits about Haunted Chocolatier whenever it arises. So that's deep comfort gaming for us. Like, to the point where when Marisha's writing in her living room, she'll just put on no dialogue, just video playthroughs of someone playing Stardew Valley, just to have the music and the sounds in the background. Like, it's that much of a comfort for her. So
Wow.
Our algorithm on YouTube is absolutely fucked, because it's just nothing but like Breath of the Wild playthroughs, like chill audio playthroughs, Stardew Valley playthroughs, Minecraft playthroughs. Yeah, those are the big ones I can think of.
I ended up having to make my own audio soundtracks to work, because I get so into like I was listening like Skyrim. I'll listen to the Skyrim soundtrack, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, gotta play. I can't keep working.
I do have a particular video game playlist that I listen to every time I write my game prep for Critical Role. Let me pull up this list real fast and see if I can like show off what this is here, if I can get.
Yeah,
feels.
everyone always asks me what I listen to when I create, and I was like, it's all over the place. It depends on what I'm creating, but I also listen to stuff that I don't think people would quite understand how I got from that to what I'm drawing.
Yeah, so like some of the songs I have on this playlist, I have a bunch of Xenogears stuff from the PS1 game Xenogears, like Star of Tears, Life in Netherworld, a bunch of Xenogears stuff. I have some Chrono Trigger tracks in there from the symphonic Chrono Trigger elements there. I have some Wild Arms OST stuff. I have some old Twisted Metal 2 music on there. It's all video game stuff. I got some Dark Souls tracks on there, like Firelink Shrine, Symphony of the Night, the Castlevania games, pardon me, on there.
It's contagious.
Apparently, we're talking about it. It's a problem.
Oh no.
I have some Super Metroid tracks on there, also like the Symphonic Orchestra versions. I have some Chrono Cross stuff. I mean, that's kind of the bulk of it. And those are like all comfort music tracks that kind of, help me focus when I'm writing. I can't listen to anything with lyrics when I write at all. It has to be just symphonic or atmospheric, or if there's any words, my brain just starts scrambling when I'm trying to write.
Yeah, I only have 2 songs that I can't listen to while working. One is the opening for Skyrim, because those drums, that's it, gotta go play, bye. But I also can't listen to, I didn't realize how bad this was, but I can't listen to the attack music. I actually start getting anxiety. I was sitting there drawing one day, and all of a sudden I'm like getting heart palpitations and like sweating, and I was like, what the fuck? And I realized the music I'm listening to, Pavlian's dog. I was like, oh my god.
Jeremy Stoll knew what he was doing.
Yes. Oh,
he's too good. Too powerful.
Absolutely. So yeah, I actually had to remove it off of my playlist. Like, oh no. Oh my god. Talk about triggers. Although now I'm getting there with I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 so much. I apparently was humming the Down, Down, Down by the River song.
Oh, I don't know it. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to play it yet.
Ah,
I played a little bit when I was playing for Larry, and I got a chance
Right.
to like run around and mess around in the game for a few hours, which was fun. That was kind of me just kind of feeling it out. But I wanted to wait until it was on PS5 so me and Mercer could couch co-op it,
yeah.
which is what we did with like the Divinity games. And it finally came out on PS5 right in the midst of us being so busy with like production and events and travel that we just haven't had time. So technically, Baldur's Gate 3 will be our Thanksgiving and holidays experience.
Oh, I'm gonna have to have you back on because I've been asking everyone the same questions about who they romance. Because I love everything about the game. It's so wonderfully nuanced. It's amazing.
I'm so proud of the whole team at Larian. Everyone I've met as part of that team, even just back when I was doing some fun promo stuff with Divinity 2 and getting to meet the folks then, they're all just good people who are excited to make good shit, and they're one of the few examples of a developer that has the means, the talent, and the creative control in a lot of ways to do this without a publisher having to oversee it. Those licensors still have to be involved to a certain degree with a game like Baldur's Gate. So I think it's great that exists. The unique conversation I've seen around about how the expectations it sets unrealistically for other games. I see elements to for and against that argument. I think Larian's both comfort in budget, in time for development, team size, and level of control for final product is a rarity in the industry. So I do think to a certain extent, that shouldn't be a bar that's held to every other title out there, especially across the spectrum of different budgets. But I do not think that people, and publishers especially, that try and wield it as an excuse for them, making games that are subpar or that release incredibly broken, and would rather push something broken out for an unnecessary deadline that their marketing department decided to announce prematurely, as opposed to waiting until it's finished and final. I don't think it should be a shield or a screen for that sort of behavior either. I think it's a sliding scale of an argument there. But anyway, that's my opinion on it.
We've already had some controversial opinions on this, specifically around like AI and stuff. So,
don't get me started.
That's what I said, because I'm like, I'm gonna fucking.
I believe that technology can create and do wonderful things.
Yes.
And I think emergent technology and some concepts of the use of ethical AI development, I think, can revolutionize healthcare, can revolutionize energy and safety and so many facets of our society. The problem is ethical utilization of new technologies, and new technologies are often developed primarily for profit. And the first people to jump on things for profit often aren't thinking about ethics. And that happens with any sort of boom of new emergent technology. And that's where my concerns and anxieties stem. And we've already seen the misuse of emergent AI technology in the artist space, in the voiceover space, in the writing space, in so many spaces, and especially the creative fields. And I think it'll get worse before it gets better. But I hope we can rein some of that in before it's too late. I know that's what a lot of the strikes are about right now. And I am a full supporter of all of that for those reasons and more. So I could talk forever about it, but I just wanted to get all that out there.
Yep. Yeah. No. It was funny because I had Joey on here, because he actually asked me about using it for accessibility reasons. Because he's been over my house, and I have my house is pretty much run by our Alexa app.
Yeah.
Because as a partially blind person, I don't want to have to try and find switches and and knobs and everything else to turn stuff on and off, but also to make it a lot easier for my partner, who, when we first got together, found out that there's these little things called dots. They're blind dots, and we put them on anything that has a flat surface, so I can find buttons for them, and so it's an interaction for both of us, all the accessibility things that we use. But
Right.
I loved the idea of AI in that capacity, because for people like me, it's just an improvement. It's just a quality of life thing, where having something that can help me run my house, that I don't have to make specific and special accommodations for just for me, and it doesn't feel like I'm imposing those type of things on my wife, even though she doesn't feel that way, isn't the point. You know, when you are somebody with a disability, you are made very aware that our society sees any accommodation for you as kind of a burden. You know, like, oh, I have to accommodate you. And it's like, yeah, thanks. Nice of you to point it out. It's not like it's not constantly pointed out to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But artistically, so because I see the world in 2D because I'm blind in one eye. So AI, in that, if I was able to type up something like, I don't know, red boat on blue seas or something, and have that give me like a rough image of that to use as something, as like a reference point, instead of like how a lot of us take pictures of things. Like, I can't draw faces because they're so shallow, and in a two-dimensional world, all of my stuff looks really flat. Yeah. So if I could have something where I didn't have to have my friends pose in all these really weird contorted poses and everything else, so I could take a picture of it and use that as a reference for a painting, that would be nice.
Yeah. I'm not against the idea of AI art, should it be algorithmically pulling from a database of consensually used and compensated art.
Yeah.
Like that, then I'm completely for it. And then, once again, that brings back to the ethical use of AI. I think to your point, there's so many wonderful ways it can revolutionize the quality of living for people, both able-bodied and otherwise. Like, it's a shame that things that can revolutionize are immediately misused for the purpose of short-form profiteering.
Yep.
And that kind of spoils it for everyone.
Yes.
And that's just kind of, unfortunately, the state of things. The rate in which technology advances and becomes accessible, with the idea, and at least smoke-screened presented as democratizing the accessibility of emergent technology, also puts it in the hands of people that only wish to exploit it.
Yep.
And then once the genie's out of the bottle, it's hard to pull back in, and it takes time to get it back to a place. And at the rate of the exponential rate of advancement of technologies, it seems the means of bureaucratically, how do I put it? How to regulate things in a way that can prevent it from spiraling out of control. The rate of bureaucracy cannot keep up with the rate of development and advancement. Yeah. And we're in that the sliding climb of the Kurzweil singularity in a lot of ways, and it's just like our entire society is built on an extremely archaic, slow-moving system of papers and signatures and approvals, and we're building systems that can iterate on themselves instantaneously. So we're fucked. But amongst that, we get to roll dice and play games.
Right? And that's why it's so important, because when everything else is just out of control, it's nice to have something that you can just go be a hero, go be a villain in. And
that's our whole thing at Critical Role. Like, we're trying to change the world in what small ways we can. CRF, our foundation, is one of the most proud achievements of my life, and it's still in its infancy. It's still growing and doing incredible things. That's my retirement plan, is to eventually get to the point in my life where all I do is focus on CRF. That would be incredible. But you know, we're not politicians. We're not,
Right.
you know, activists to a degree. Of many people out there that are doing far better work than we could ever hope for. But what we can do is we can get together, we can laugh, and we can tell stories, and hopefully through those stories inspire people to change their lives in little better, meaningful ways, consciously or subconsciously. And that's what other people do for us. And in the midst of this flaming hellscape that is reality, occasionally, I hope that's enough.
I'm assuming that it is, considering so I can't imagine the amount of messages that you get, but even the ones that I get, if it's any comparison. I got a message the other day from someone like, I don't know how often you talk to Matt, but could you tell him, and then a laundry list of things. And I was like,
oh boy.
Oh, wow. This is great. No, but thank you. That was really sweet.
Yeah.
Would you mind if we talked a little bit about business?
Sure. Yeah.
Sweet. So one of the things that I see a lot, because I get a lot of people that ask me, like, how can I get into one, everyone asks me how can I become Critical Role's cartographer? And I'm like, I don't know, because the path that I got here is non-existent. It's not this. It won't be the same.
Every path is unique.
Yeah. And but I was recently I have a big conversation a lot about on here about starting a business and being an artist and having about copyright, because especially as somebody who does do the maps for you all, we talk a lot on here about the realism of being an artist or being a creative full time, and how much that, the worst day doing this as a creative for a living beats the best day I've ever had doing something else.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that.
So yes, we talk about the realism and everything else of it, but ultimately it does come down to, like, this is my calling in life, and you definitely have to have a love of doing this in order to do this full time. So how much of that is, because you work far more than an 8-hour day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say, oh man, it's hard to quantify, but the average work day is between 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
With any shoot day or long production days, sometimes pushing into 17 to 18 hours.
Right.
I'd say the average work week of mine is between 60 to 70 hours, probably.
Now, is that the same for, like, everyone else? Because I don't know how much of yours is actually added for doing world building or prep work.
It's hard to say. I don't know fully what everyone else's schedules are. I know for, like, Marisha and Sam and Travis, it's similar. Sam and Travis are helming largely the animated series projects.
Wait, Sam works?
I know, right? No, Sam does a lot, and like I'll say it here. Sam is very playful and puckish, and is very self-deprecating, and plays up this persona in his ads, but he is so sweet and thoughtful and hardworking and driven, and is honestly, him and Travis are the driving forces behind the animated series productions. We're all involved in it in different ways, but that's like their babies right now, and have been for a while.
Right.
And so I know they're working at least as much as I am, and we're also all working on those facets as well. Mercer's helping all the channel production elements, as well as also helping out with animated series stuff. Liam and Taliesin help out with both. Well, Liam still focuses on our community stuff, but also both of them help with all the comic books and all those processes with me. But even they've taken a lot of that as I've gotten busier on other facets. And then Ashley is CRF continuously, as well as helping out other facets. We all kind of like fill in the gaps as we go, and it's amorphous in some ways. We all have our different pillars we focus on.
Right.
But it's a lot, and it's a lot because because we believe in this, and because you only really get one shot of building a foundation that will outlast you.
Yeah.
This is our legacy. This is something that I hope one day to be able to step back and watch the next generation, pick it up and take it to places I never could. I want this to be something that outlives all of us, and to do that we have to put in the work now, and we all feel that. We feel that in our bones, and it's hard, and it's the work-life balance is challenging, because every single time we make the effort and make the changes in our life to find a better work-life balance, the scope of the work grows as quickly.
Yeah.
So it in many ways, it's still building the tracks in front as the train's going, and as exciting as it is, it's also very tiring, and we're all exhausted, but we're all very proud, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. When we first did the book together, Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, can I just say, I put up so much props for my wife, because she literally bought our house and moved us into it while I was doing that book, and I couldn't help her do anything.
Oh my God, she's a godsend.
That's it. I was
Cheers. I'm gonna clap here.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, I literally found out 2 days before we got the keys to the house. I was like, oh no.
I'm so sorry.
She was like, it's okay. She just kept bringing me food when it was feeding time, would pull the pen out of my hand and wheel me, because my chair's on wheels, wheel me over to the bed and kind of dump me in it.
Oh, please give her a hug and thank her for me.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it's so. Again, it's so. One of the things that I think is amazing is how many people, when we first start off, especially as artists, you end up absolutely lowballing your prices just because you want to get the work, and there's no way to get your name out there without doing that. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why I want to give all of you tremendous props. When you and I first started working together, you were all still with Legendary.
Oh, yeah.
And the moment that I got the message that you all were forming your own company, I was like, yes! As an artist, we so rarely get to own the stuff that we make like this. How many animations have you been in that you don't own them? You get a paycheck out of it, and you feel like, the love and the fan base and everything else, but ultimately they can replace you. They can use that voice, the bits that you've already recorded, for something, else to a degree.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you don't get to own it, but this you get to own. That's got to be the most amazing feeling in the world.
It's pretty exciting to that degree. And to your point, our entire careers before this were based in providing our talents to part of the tapestry of particular projects, whether it be animated, whether it be video game, whether it be commercial, whatever the case may be. And you take the check and you move on. And it was, gig to get a gig, and that is it takes a particular kind of life and work philosophy to accept the excitement and the challenges of that lifestyle. It is feast and famine continuously.
Absolutely.
And you have to look at every paycheck as to possibly last you for an undisclosed, an unknown period of time in which there might be no work.
Right.
And that is anxiety-inducing in a lot of ways, especially when you live in Los Angeles, which is a very cheap place to live.
Yeah.
But you have to be here for the work, so you learn a lot of. If you're smart, you learn how to be responsible with your expenditures. You learn how to let go of a lot of comforts when you need to. You also learn to also let yourself treat yourself on occasion for victories. For your own mental health, and that's okay too. As long as it isn't a deeply irresponsible purchase.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't speak from experience at all, not at all.
No.
But through this, having something that we created and get to expand upon, has been really important to us, and figuring out as business owners how to engage with the people we have a chance to work with.
Yeah.
And that's ever an evolving process, and with more success, you also learn the challenges of copyright and IP in the world, because for every amazing artist there is out there that you want to work with, there's also a bunch of Redbubble scam artists that are trying to rip everything off, and you have to fight for some sort of ownership of your copyright. And so, like, I know we've put out updates to our, community art guidelines and stuff that are all largely to be able to protect our IP, so we can fight the people out there that exploit both our art community and our particular creations out there, but still keep it open so everyone feels comfortable. And there's language in there that seems harsher than people probably understand it, but a lot of it is just necessary for our legal protections.
Yeah.
Without us, we're not going to go and enforce it against people doing fan art and stuff. And it's stuff we legally have to do at a certain level of business size and IP recognition.
Yeah.
Out there, and so there's all these weird evolving things that we're just still learning and shifting and just trying the best we can to continue to expand ethically and carefully, and it's a weird space, but being the owners and being able to do that, being able to set those tones, being able to learn those lessons ourselves and adapt without having to bend the knee to any sort of venture capitalists or angel donors or stockholders, all that stuff is huge. It is huge.
And also, speaking of that also means that you all are putting your own money back into the company, because you're not answering to, like, because one of my favorite things was when somebody asked me, we were talking about, I was like, yeah, I'm so excited because, if they own their own IP, that means that they get to do with it as they want. And as an artist or a creative in general, this is not always an option for you. So I love that they do that. And, yes, there is always an amount of sacrifice doing that, so to speak, but as long as you're able to actually own it and keep creating it, like, it's worth it. Somebody asked me about the Amazon money, and I was like, the what? Oh, it doesn't work like that.
No, it really doesn't. It's interesting. We're much more of a mind of putting it all into the quality of the product. If we wanted to, we could make our series real cheap and just line our pockets, I'm sure.
Right.
But when we made our own when we struck out our own, make our own company, like, we all put our savings in. It was a big risk. It was like whatever we had to go into this to make it happen. We had to find space. We had to get all the equipment, and that was all just from whatever. That was all for any of our savings went into that. It was scary as hell.
Right. And nobody thought the Kickstarter would do what it did.
Not at all. We had meetings before the Kickstarter dropped where I was trying to debate whether or not we should even do it. Like, I had done 2 Kickstarters beforehand, or been part of Kickstarters before for web series projects and other things that had barely made it, and it was like so hard to even get it across the finish line. And then the amount of, which is early Kickstarter management mistakes that everyone makes to a certain degree.
Right.
You promise too much, especially when it comes to physical rewards, which end up costing a lot more to produce and a lot more to ship, and it ends up cutting in the budget far more than you expected, and then you actually have less than you thought you did to create the final product, and then you're having to produce what you promised, but with less the money than you were anticipating and budgeted for, because you had to fulfill the Kickstarter stuff. All these things were telling me Kickstarter is a bad idea. Plus, if we ever wanted to shop this around, there is no larger blemish to any studio than a failed Kickstarter.
Right.
And asking for $750,000 on the hope of an animated pilot was such like a risk that I was so terrified we would trip on.
Right.
And so we had meetings where I was legitimately telling everyone, like, I don't know if this is the right way to go. Should we just keep pitching it privately? Should we look for outside investments? Like, should we? It's such a public way to fail for something that has such a large ask that would kill any sort of aspirations for doing animation with our stuff. And thankfully, I was very wrong. We all talked about it, and we all went, no, I think at least we could probably get to the ask we need. And we did more than that.
Yeah.
It was wild. It was wild.
Oh yeah. I sound like a mom. I couldn't be more proud of you all. Just because, again, as an artist, this is what we all technically should be striving for, is to own our own IPs and stuff.
I hope so. I nothing makes me more excited than in the kind of post-Tumblr age of many artists and creators who are finding their own audience and telling their own stories and publishing their own works outside of the classic, studio-owned pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And people are making their own web series, and they're making their own graphic novels, and they're making their own art books, and they're making all these things that they can own, and through Patreon, finding their communities to support them in the work without having to fight for what was for so long promoted as the only way to survive and succeed as a creative in this industry. And that still continues to iterate and mutate and develop and expand. And what I love about it too is we all get to compare notes. We all get to, cheer each other on and collaborate, and then suggest each other for collaborations for other people, and kind of continue to kick dirt in the face of that old idea of success by helping each other out. And the current strike negotiations that we saw with the Writers Guild and everything else is another great example of the power of unity from creatives and creators in the face of the larger studios that often tell you that you aren't worth that and you can't do this without us.
Right.
That's not true, and we have so many examples of that being the case. And it does hearten me in this fiery hellscape on occasion to see those successes, to see these unions succeeding, to see people supporting each other and promoting each other and finding ways to make their passions work outside of the world that told them it never would.